I didn't understand how this God that I grew up knowing to love me and protect me and guide me would let something like this happen to my family. My name is Christine, and I'm with the Office of Ministry with Young Catholics here at St. Christopher's. I am one of the core team members for the ministry with young adults, and today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my testimony with all of you. I want to get started with a quote from St. John Paul II. He is a homie, he is my favorite, and he says, "Life with Christ is a wonderful adventure." And I cannot explain how true that has been in my life. So a little bit about myself. So my full name is Christine Castañón. My family is from Mexico, and my parents came here before I was born. We grew up in a small family of four. It was my dad, my mom, my sister, who is 6 years older than me, and then there's myself. We grew up as a really small, tight-knit Catholic family. We actually grew up here at St. Christopher's. I was baptized here, and I did my first communion here. We had that so-called picture-perfect family that everyone always talks about in the movies and things like that. But then when I was 12, my mom actually decided to walk out on my family. And it was a really difficult turning point for me. I grew up basically just practicing the Catholic faith, living it out with my family, and you learn to just love each other so much. And one day, out of nowhere, my mom just looks at us and says, "You know what, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to be a mom anymore. I just don't want this responsibility anymore. And that's it, I'm out." And my mom turned around and walked away. It was really difficult, to say the least, for my family. And at that point, I was a little bit shaken. I didn't understand how this God that I grew up knowing to love me and protect me and guide me would let something like this happen to my family. It was really difficult to also just watch the pain that my sibling and my dad was going through now that my mom or my dad's wife was not in the picture. And there came a lot of responsibilities with that. I had to grow up at a really young age since I was only 12, and I learned how to become, so to speak, a mom in the family at a young age. And it was so hard just because over and over I would just think, why God, why would you do this to me? Why would you abandon me? Why do you not love me enough to have my family be together? At that point, I don't want to say I stopped practicing, but I wasn't a full practicing Catholic anymore. Something I was like, you know what, if God's not going to hold up his end, I'm not going to hold up mine. So I stopped going to Mass every Sunday, and my family collectively, we didn't stop, we just weren't going to Mass every Sunday like we should be as Catholics, and I started to fade away more and more from the faith as I got older. When it came time to be confirmed, I actually chose not to. So in high school, I did not get confirmed, and things were starting to look up a little bit more for my family. We were finally getting back on our feet. Things were starting to look a little better. Our small family of 3 was starting to feel like a family again. And I was really fortunate because I did have a lot of incredible women who stepped up in my life to be that mom figure for me. One of those is my aunt. And she was basically, even when my mom was around, she was more my mom than my mom actually was. She is a gift from God, just such a beautiful and incredible person. And one day during my senior year of high school, I find out that she got diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And I just could not understand why God was taking another mom away from me, so to speak. I was finally feeling myself again. I was finally getting ready to go to college. I had my whole future ahead of me, and then all of a sudden my mom got cancer, and they only gave her 3 months to live. And at that point, I gave up. I gave up on the Catholic faith. I gave up on God. I was like, you know what, no, God does not love me. God doesn't exist if he's doing all of this. So at that point in my life, I actually chose to completely leave the Catholic Church. I would say, you could say I was agnostic. At some points I'd be like, yeah, maybe there's a God, maybe, I'm not quite sure. But I feel like I was only saying it on the safe side, in the end of the day, there is a God. At least I'm not wrong. But I wasn't practicing any faith. I wasn't praying, nothing like that. By the time the spring came around, I graduated high school, and I was getting ready to go off to UCLA. And I was so excited. I was like, you know what, my aunt's still here. She's healthy. She's doing well. Things are going to turn around again. And sure enough, they did, in a way I did not expect. So I went to my first orientation at UCLA, and they have all these booths there to kind of get you to go different events and clubs. And I saw the University Catholic Center. And I knew for a fact that I did not want to be Catholic ever again in my entire life. But I went to grab a flyer because I thought, okay, if my dad ever comes to visit me, I can say, hey, there's a Catholic center, I have a flyer, look. And that way he would think I was going to church, or I can just kind of like take him and play off like I was maybe still practicing Catholic. I didn't know how that plan was going to work out, but in the moment, it was my plan. So I went and I collected a flyer and I started talking with one of the student leaders from the Catholic Center. And she was just such an inviting and welcoming person. And she invited me to a student dinner. So the Catholic Center would provide meals for students every Thursday night. And it was the first one of the school year, and we exchanged phone numbers. And I thought, great, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to go. And come the first Thursday, once I'm in Westwood, I moved into UCLA. It's my first week of college. I get a text message. And she says, hey, Christine, it was so great to see you at orientation. Don't forget, student dinner is tonight. Can't wait to see you there. And part of me was thinking, yeah, I don't want to go. I'm okay. Like, a lot of Catholic people eating dinner together does not sound like a good time. But I thought, you know what? I have no friends. I just got to college. Why not? So I went, and I actually met the most incredible people that night. They are all probably like my closest friends. And to this day, I still speak to every single one of those people that I met that night. So that night, I met some of the most incredible people that I could have ever imagined meeting. Many of those people are some of my closest friends today. Some of them were from the same area as me, and one of my now best friends, I actually met her that night too, and turns out she was also from Moreno Valley, but we had just never met. And it was just so nice to be around them because all of them had some type of energy or joy or something in them that I didn't have, and I had not had in a long time. And I didn't know what it was, but I wanted it. And even though I wasn't convinced about being Catholic or practicing Catholic again, I was like, you all look really happy and you all look so excited about life, and I want that. I want that for myself. And they were just the most loving people, and we exchanged numbers, and everyone kept reaching out to me. And they would say, like, hey, like, let's go to Bible study together. Hey, let's go to Mass together. Mind you, I had hardly been to Mass in the last couple of years, so the fact that I made friends that were excited to go to Mass, I wasn't sure if it was something I wanted to stick with. I thought maybe I should kind of dip out on these friends and find new ones. I didn't know, but I was like, you know, we're just going to go with it. So I started going to a Bible study. I had never been to a Bible study in my entire life. I hadn't really picked up a Bible in my entire life, so it was definitely an experience to go to my first Bible study. And I had so many questions, and everyone, like, I thought I was going to get judged for not knowing so many things about the church and my faith, but everyone was so welcoming. And I thought, okay, like, I'll give this a shot. I'll keep trying. And that's when I got invited to a Focus conference. Focus is the Fellowship of Catholic University Students. They're an organization of missionaries that send out young adults to college campuses across the country to evangelize and just walk with the students and help them grow in their faith. Every year they have a conference that's either called SEEK or SLS, where they bring a lot of Catholic speakers, and they teach you about the faith. They talk about their testimonies and all these things. There's a lot of time for prayer and adoration, Mass. You name it, it was there at the conference. And I didn't want to go, but it was in San Antonio, and I had never been on a plane. I had never gone on a trip anywhere. And I thought, this is the way I'm going to get my dad to let me go somewhere, because it's with the church, it's with really awesome people. He knew some of them from when he would come to Mass with me. So I asked, and my dad was very excited. He said, yes, go. So I went, and I went on a plane for my first time, and I was just living my best life. But when I got to the conference, I thought to myself, you know, this is it. If I can't find a reason here that convinces me to return to the church, like, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to become Catholic. This is like the final like straw for me. If this works, then all right, great. If it doesn't, then I'm out. So I went to that conference, and I was hearing a lot of different speakers, and some people had stories very similar to mine. But I thought, well, that's them, this is me. That's not going to happen to me. And it wasn't until probably the third day that I saw on the schedule that we had adoration. I didn't know what adoration was. I had never been to adoration, and I saw that we had 2 hours blocked off for it. So I asked a friend what adoration was, and she said it was prayer. And I thought, great, I don't want to pray for 2 hours. That's the last thing I want to do. Like, we're in San Antonio, let's go explore. But everyone said, no, you should come, like, we should all sit together. It's a very, like, emotional time for everyone, so you should be there to support each other. So I got stuck. I had to go to adoration, and I was like, okay, I'll just kind of like sit there for 2 hours, let it go, and then we'll go explore San Antonio. And little did I know that that was the moment that honestly changed my life. I remember sitting in adoration, and everything started, the praise and worship music started, the Blessed Sacrament was in front of me, and everyone started crying, and I thought, what is happening inside of these people? Like, why are you crying? Like, we're just praying and there's really good music on, like, what is happening? But after about like 15 minutes of me being stubborn, I thought, okay, you know what, I'm gonna try to pray. And I remember sitting there and kneeling down, looking at the Blessed Sacrament, and just thinking, like, why would you let this happen to me? And I just felt so much anger, and me not yelling at a God that doesn't exist made me realize, okay, you know what, maybe I do believe that he exists, because I'm obviously yelling at somebody in my head. But I was just upset. I was telling God, why would you let this happen to me? Like, why would you allow my family to struggle so much? Like, why did you leave me? Like, why did you abandon me? And it was just so upsetting for me to just sit there and be mad at him. And in that moment, I felt a presence that I've never felt in my entire life except for in that day. And it was just like the most incredible feeling. I just heard in my mind God say, like, I'm here, and I've always been here, and I love you. I'm getting emotional. We'll have to edit this part out. Yeah, and I need a moment. After I heard those words, I thought, where have I been, like, my whole life? Like, where has, like, he's been here. I'm the one that walked away. I'm the one that didn't trust him working in my life when I felt like there was nobody there. And I remember, like, when I heard those words, I just started crying, and I don't think I've ever had such a relieving cry in my entire life. I think I probably cried for the 2 hours, and it was just a roller coaster of emotions. Like, I just felt so sorry and just empty but yet fulfilled. And I was just thinking of all the years that I ran so empty, and I was just seeking him, and I didn't know that's who and what I was seeking. And I remember after that, like, the feeling of emptiness, like, left, and I just felt so filled. So it's like all my, like, sorrowful tears turned into joyful tears. So from there, I feel like I was just like, wow, like, I just feel like so loved, and I'm in this family, and I'm in this church, and like, God is here, and he's ready to work with me and use me as a tool for him and his mission. And I had just never felt so happy in my entire life. It was just such an incredible evening, and I am just so glad that God revealed himself to me in the Blessed Sacrament. And after that, I said, you know what, like, this is it. Like, God, that is you. There was no doubt in my mind that he was present in the Blessed Sacrament. And since that day, there has never been a doubt in my mind that he is fully present in the Eucharist and every time we receive him. So I said, I'm becoming Catholic. Like, I will go get confirmed. Like, this is what journey you have planned for me, and I'm ready. So I went back to school. I found one of our campus ministers. I went up to her and I told her, I'm ready. I want to be confirmed. So I got confirmed on May 21st, 2017. It was just the most exciting day. I took on the name of Saint Dymphna. She is a really awesome saint, and it has just been such a beautiful journey since. I can't say my life has been really easy since dedicating my life to Christ. I wish it was just like rainbows and butterflies, but I can say that is by far the best decision I have ever made. And he has given so much meaning to all the highs and the lows in my life. And I would not have been able to get through these last couple of years without him. And after I decided to get confirmed, I became more active in the church. I got more active in the ministry at my Catholic center over at UCLA. I started being discipled so I can learn more. And eventually I picked up a disciple and I got to help her walk in her faith and in her journey with Christ. And I guess my message for all of you is your journey is not going to look like mine, or it may not look like any testimony you've ever heard, and that's okay. Everybody's journey is completely different. When I went to my first Bible study, they said, okay, what's the first book of the Bible? And I thought, Genesis, got it. And then they're like, what's the second book? And I didn't know. And then in my head, I'm like, oh, the last book of the Bible is definitely Exodus. And then they're like, oh, Exodus. And I thought, okay, we have some work to do. And for me, I was ready to be I was a little bit ashamed. I was a little bit embarrassed. And I realized that everyone starts at a different point. You know, it's okay if you reach a certain age or chapter of your life and you don't know something about the teachings of the church or the Bible or anything like that. Don't let that discourage you. It's okay. We all start off at different points, and just remembering that God is calling you to mission. He's calling you to make him known, because our lives are to know him and make him known, and being able to live that out every day is such a beautiful gift. And like I said, everyone has different journeys, and it's okay if you start your journey a little bit later than somebody else's, or a little bit earlier. And it's okay if you decide to go become a priest, or if you decide to go and become married and live out the sacrament of marriage. There's so many different ways that God is calling us to serve him and his church, and everyone's unique story comes together to build the church. Are we a perfect church? Absolutely not. We're a church of broken people that are in need of love and his mercy. But the Catholic Church will always have him. It will always have him present in the Eucharist. And we are called to be better and try to be better. And we are the church. You know, it's not the generation above us. It's us. We are a part of the church. And just letting that be your inspiration to continue to just move forward and love him. Take things at your own pace. Ask questions. There's people ready to walk the journey with you, and God puts everything that you need in your life. They always say God doesn't give you more than he thinks you can handle, and he knows that you can handle a lot because he made you strong and he made you beautiful. So yeah, that's my testimony. Thank you for listening if you made it this far, and I hope to see you all here in the parish soon. Thanks.